Damn me, YouTube back at it again with another stupid meme intro, and today we are on episode 11, meaning we are on the first episode of Impact Wrestling in the year 2010. This is the start of the new era. This is the official first show of Paul Heyman's era. Even though the last show technically was, this show means more because A, it's the first of the new year. We now have a goal. We have 3 goals actually. I mentioned in the last video that I was going to make a separate video, but with there not being any incidents in this video, I figured why not just put it here. The 3 goals are as stated. I'm not going to go in the notepad because I don't have anything put in there. But the 3 goals, the number 1 is by the year 2011, the first episode of Impact in 2011, we're going to Monday nights. We're challenging the WWE. We have 1 year to prepare for war. So that's the first goal, is to be ready for war come 2011. 1 full year. The second goal, that by the end of 2010, every championship we have will main event a pay-per-view. So that means we're going to have 1 pay-per-view being the Knockouts main event, basically. 1 beat for the X Division. Obviously, the World title is not going to be difficult. The Global Championship and the Tag Team Championships all will be featured in a main event. Hopefully, we can rise all of these titles up so all of those main events do well. And then the third goal is basically to rise to national, because we're still cold. Here, I'll show you guys. We're still cold. So we need to rise up to national before we go to war. That pretty much goes with the first goal. And above all that, just keep building talent. I want to build these guys. I want to build Jon Moxley to be the best. I want to build, especially with these signings I got bringing in. I'm bringing in at the moment. I'm not going to show you, but I got some signings bringing in at the moment, if you know what I mean. So let's go ahead and do the locker room controls. That's basically all the goals I have set. If you're watching this as it goes up today is Extreme Rules. Expect a reaction video tonight. Hopefully it's not a rant. Probably is going to be a rant. Let's be real here. Anyways, back to this. We're going to medal. Who do we need to medal? I would do Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett, but I don't want them two to fight. And plus, Angle's got time off anyway. So let's see. There really isn't any bad chemistry, to be honest, outside of those. Yeah, there's no bad chemistry. Wow. Ty Dillinger's the protege of Eric Young. Interesting. Didn't know that. Did not know that. Yeah, there's not really too much. I mean, can we use ourselves? No, we cannot. Okay, that's probably obvious, but I'm an idiot, so. Yeah, there's no real shit we can really do for metal, so let's not do a hardline stance because I don't want people leaving. I don't want to do clear the air because I don't want people to like rant and shit. Let's do a rib. We're gonna do a minor rib, and we're gonna do it on Rob Van Dam. I feel like he'll be okay with a rib. Speaking of Rob Van Dam, he's going to be on the show tonight in the first round of the tournament for the world title. Let's rib. Up. Okay. So that did dick. Anyways, we're done with the locker room controls. Let's go ahead and get into the booking right here. Alright, we are back. And first off, apologies if this video sounds a little weird. I'm still sick. Watched the video yesterday, find out why, etc., etc. But nonetheless, let's get into the first show of 2010. We kick things off, and it's basically a video package showing that the tournament being announced by Paul Heyman, shows all the competitors in it, shows the highlights from the first round matches last week, and then the graphic comes up at the very end of the video, right here, and shows basically who advanced, who didn't. As you know, AJ Styles defeated Booker T, and Jon Moxley defeated Bobby Lashley to advance, and tonight we are told that Rob Van Dam will face Sting and Mr. Anderson will face Matt Morgan. And then that ends that segment, and we go into the first match. Jay Lethal versus Eric Young. Needed to give Jay Lethal some momentum. And Eric Young, as Paul Heyman has said before, doesn't believe in rematch clauses. So Eric Young does not get a rematch for the Global Championship at this time. So Lethal basically goes over Eric Young, did a 75 B-. Both fared well in this. Jay Lethal actually edged out Eric Young with a 78 in-ring performance. We then go on to Daniels coming out from the back with the microphone in hand, the X Division title over his shoulder. With the microphone, he says, "Jay Lethal, Jay Lethal, Jay Lethal. You see, I am the gatekeeper. I am the man that tells everyone around here who is the best. I'm the best of the X Division. You say that you can beat me? No, 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 no. I can beat you. But I'll tell you what. If next week you can prove yourself by defeating a man of my choosing, I'll give you a title shot. And Lethal just nods his head yes, and a match is made basically for next week. Who will Jay Lethal face? Who will Christopher Daniels pick? Find out next week. We then go on to a segment where Desmond Wolfe comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone, and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, next week I find it to be very, very, very well that two men lost. So, as a man of fair opportunity, tonight I will let anyone that lost last week, so either Booker T or Bobby Lashley, come down to this ring and face me man to man. Because next week I will tell them they will have a shot at the world champion. No, the title will not be on the line, but if you win that match, which you won't, you can get into a triple threat match at Genesis. But you will not defeat the Lariat, Desmond Wolfe." And then Booker T music hits. Booker T comes out, comes down to the ring, grabs the microphone from Wolfe's hands and says, "Next week you're on, sucker." And then that's basically the end of the segment. So now we know next week there's two matches you're looking forward to. Desmond Wolfe versus Booker T in a non-title match. And then you have You have Desmond Wolfe versus Booker T in a non-title match. And then you have Jay Lethal facing a random opponent that Daniels chooses. No, it's not Rob Van Dam. I just fucked up and said Rob. Anyway, did a 93A. Did very good. Team 3D in their first match back since returning last week in the segment with the Kings of Wrestling versus the British Invasion. And the Team 3D defeated the British Invasion, got an 81B. Brother Ray and Brother Devon having incredible in-ring performance. That's great. I love how the tag division's so stacked when it comes to this shit. Because you know the Motor City's doing that shit. You know Beer Money's doing that shit. Team 3D's doing this shit. So if we can get Kings of Wrestling up there doing this shit, we got 4 tag teams that are doing great. So that's amazing. Did an 81B. Team 3D gets a win. Not really much you could say here. After that, though, Kings of Wrestling, speaking of, hit the ring. They all three attack Team 3D. All three with their titles, of course. Boom, boom, boom. Bam, bam, bam. They stand tall. Chris Hero just holds the elbow up, and Claudio uppercuts the elbow, doing their little signature taunt. And then Del Rey just smiles and holds her Knockouts Championship up as the Kings of Wrestling hold their titles up. So yeah, that ends that segment. Got a 72B minus. Did very well. We then go backstage, where Paul Heyman says, "Up next, Samoa Joe, the man that cries about not getting opportunities, will have an opportunity, as he will face a man of my choosing, and if he wins, he gets the number 1 contendership for the Global Championship." Now, how's that for an opportunity, Samoa Joe? It did an 83B+, which we then go on to the match, Samoa Joe versus Alex Shelley. And I wanted to test out Shelley to see how he would do in a singles match, which he did great. Joe defeats Shelley in 12 minutes with a muscle buster, thus becoming the number 1 contender for the Global Championship. Got an 82B, did very well. We then go on to the next match, which is Sara Del Rey versus Daphne, just something, of course, to keep Del Rey's momentum coming up. And, of course, she's still steady improving, so that's great. Is there anything bad to note here? No. Well, Daphne seemed to offer games. That's pretty much it. I really need to find out what I want to do with Dr. Stevie, because I love that gimmick, and I love Daphne as well. So I need to figure out what I want to do long term with these two. But nonetheless, a 56C minus. After this, we go on to Rob Van Dam being interviewed by Christy Hemme about his match with Sting tonight, and then she also asks, about the World Championship tournament with his match with Sting tonight. Then she also goes on to ask, what does he feel about Samoa Joe now being the number 1 contender? And RVD says, "I don't care about Samoa Joe at the moment. My eyes are set on that world title. My eyes are gonna be on the World Championship when it's around my waist. So I don't focus on Joe, because I'm not going to face him at the pay-per-view. I'm facing Desmond, and right as he says the word Desmond, Joe flies in from out of nowhere. Boom! Just decks RVD and just starts taking him down. Fucking full mounts him. Boom! Punch, 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 punch. picks him up, slams him against the wall, slams him on the floor, just starts just mauling him, absolutely destroying him. And we hear Christy like screaming for help. Did a 73 B minus. That's how we end the segment. Just Joe murdering RVD basically. We then see Mr. Anderson and Matt Morgan in the next segment coming down the hallways and explain that up next we will have the tournament match, which Mr. Anderson defeats Matt Morgan with a quick schoolboy, basically. He basically just rolls up Matt Morgan after Morgan misses a big boot in the corner, and then boom, just a quick roll up, has his feet on the ropes probably, knowing Anderson being that dirty little heel. Got a 75 B minus, so Anderson advances. He will now face the winner of the main event of Sting versus Rob Van Dam, which we find out is not going to be the main event now because Paul Heyman is in the doctor's office with Rob Van Dam, who the doctor says this man cannot compete. So Heyman just grabs his forehead and is like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then Sting comes into the door and just is asking Heyman, who's my opponent now? If he can't compete, who am I facing? Am I getting a bye? And Heyman says, no, you're not getting a bye because you're up next. And I will find an opponent suitable to replace Rob Van Dam. And we then go on to the return of the Pope D'Angelo Dinero as D'Angelo Dinero faces Sting. And Sting defeats D'Angelo Dinero with a reverse DDT. This was basically for me to get Dinero back because I have actually a plan with how I'm going to use Dinero going forward. For those that don't know, before I hired Mr. Anderson, while the contract negotiations were going down, the hooded attacker technically was D'Angelo Dinero. Never was I going to reveal it to be Dinero. However, that's who was being used in the segments, so he did incredible during those segments. So I very, very, very much am going to have plans for Dinero going forward. But Sting defeats D'Angelo Dinero nonetheless, advances in the tournament, going to the semifinals, where we now know in the semifinals we will see Sting versus Mr. Anderson and AJ Styles versus Jon Moxley. And that did a 72 B minus. That did really good. D'Angelo Dinero outperformed Sting. Very good. We then go on to the last segment of the night. All four of the semifinalists, as I mentioned, are in the ring now. They're all brawling because Jon Moxley hit the ring over the guardrail, took out Sting from behind. AJ Styles hits the ring, saves Sting basically. Then Mr. Anderson comes down to the ring, and they just all four start brawling. Desmond Wolfe walks out on stage with a microphone, holds up the world title, and says, "Look at my peasants fight. They are pawns. I will never lose no matter what. No matter which of these four lose the title." Which, hearing him cut this promo, basically all four slowly begin to stop fighting and turn to face Wolfe, and we just have this big 1-on-4 stare down to end the show. And then of course the heels just low blow or basically attack Sting and AJ from behind and get the upper hand. So that's how we end Impact. I wonder what we're gonna get. Probably not that high of a show rating. 78, not bad. Alright. So for the first episode of 2010, we get a 78B. You guys know the goals going forward now for the year 2010. And find out next week. We now know a couple matches actually, because you know Jay Lethal will be facing one of Daniels' mystery opponents. Basically, Daniels gets to pick, and if Lethal wins, he becomes the number one contender for the X Division title. We're gonna see Desmond Wolfe face Booker T. We're going to see the semifinals, Sting facing Mr. Anderson and Jon Moxley facing AJ Styles. There's a lot going on next week, a lot going on tomorrow's episode. So, as always, hit the like button if you liked the video, subscribe if you're new, and take it easy, guys.